Well, welcome back, everybody. It is a solemn Monday, unfortunately. The Bears picked up a 24-14 loss to the Packers. Of course, Zach, I know that you're enjoying a nice fine weekend in San Diego for your fall break and had to record the game and get back to it later. So no one did any spoilers for you. But what were your raw reactions kind of watching the game over?
So I missed the game live. I actually had to. I got the NFL Game Pass. Your recommendation ended up working perfectly. I got the Game Pass, the free trial, and then I instantly canceled it after the game.
Smart.
Yeah, worked out pretty well. I gotta say, pretty disappointing loss. There were a couple moments for sure where I felt like the game potentially, was somewhat within reach. Like it felt competitive for a good chunk of this game. I think up until pretty much the third quarter, I didn't really feel like it was too far out of reach, which I thought maybe early on that, or before the game had started, that this is the kind of matchup where we should probably get smoked, but it didn't feel that way. We
Right.
started off hot. Um, yeah. So like I said, I was out in San Diego during the weekend. Today's actually my girlfriend's birthday, so shout out Maria. Happy 21st. But
There
yeah.
you go.
So
Big day.
big day, big day.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, at least you have something to distract you from that. So happy birthday to her. And yeah, honestly, right. The game didn't go quite how I expected it. Of course, I thought the Bears had a chance. We had a little bit of a recording issue. I actually kind of did the honorary Bears win because one of us had to choose the Bears winning. I was a little back and forth on it, but
Yeah.
I was really hoping the offense would kind of blow me out of the water a little bit. I was saying, hey, the Bears are going to get their first 30-point game of the season. It didn't quite come to that. It started out, I was thinking, hey, maybe we might actually get that. The first drive was pretty spectacular. Justin Fields started out 3 for 3, made a really nice pass to Allen Robinson right on the sideline, and finished it off with a strong Khalil Herbert touchdown. Khalil Herbert looked really good again playing. Of course, he had to carry the majority of the load with Damian Williams out. I thought he played really well. I think running the football was something that worked out well for him. And it was kind of a weird game for the Bears because they did some things right and some things just went totally wrong. I think on the offensive side of the ball, it was kind of a little bit of the smaller things this week for Justin Fields. Of course, there were some bad officiating mistakes, like that pick that he had probably should have never happened or shouldn't have counted, with a little bit of defensive encroachment there, but almost replicated it again, but got fortunate enough that Adrian Amos had a foot out of bounds. So it was tough. I mean, and also I'd say my biggest gripe with him is just like, yeah, he'll eventually learn, when the best time to throw the ball away is. And, eh, you can't fault him all the time because he had to run out of the pocket in certain instances because the pocket was collapsing onto him. I think even sometimes they even tried to force moving him out of the pocket a few times when they didn't really need to. I think there's a little bit of this misunderstanding with Justin Fields that since he has this athletic ability, we constantly need to be moving him out of the pocket. Justin Fields is someone that enjoys being in the pocket as long as he has the protection to do so. And against the Browns game, he didn't, and he was under a little bit more heat in this game as well, and took a few sacks. And then on the defensive side of the ball is just the tackling. And of course, hate to come after him again. And, I think I'll even do a video on this because so much has come of the whole situation. But Eddie Jackson, my goodness.
Yeah.
It's just really tough to watch him go out there week in, week out and just not know how to tackle. And that happened all across the board for the Bears in this game. There were some stiff arms, but Tashawn Gibson got stiff armed down and missed a tackle that led to another touchdown later on in the game. And it was tough. And the Packers came at it. They didn't even have to throw the ball. The Packers ran the ball effectively. And, other teams are going to keep kind of hitting on that throughout the season because this Bears pass rush is good. Khalil Mack got in on Aaron Rodgers. Akeem Hicks got in on Aaron Rodgers. And Robert Quinn as well. So it's kind of... It's just concerning to see that because I don't want the Bears defense to get picked on just because they're a little bit vulnerable in the run.
Yeah, I mean, our pass rush was there. they were showing up. Robert Quinn continues to have a year that I just, compared to last year, it's unbelievable. The step up he looks like he did in Dallas. Roquan Smith obviously had himself a game, but you're right about Eddie Jackson. As much defending as I give this guy, he has been kind of invisible. He just has not been there. He's not been making the plays we saw from him a couple years ago. And it's been really discouraging because obviously our secondary is already thin. We're already looking for, for any kind of a playmaker. Jalen Johnson got cooked, man. He just got cooked. He did.
I think for the most part, like the Bears did a good job of slowing down Davante Adams. I mean, he only had 4 catches for like 80 yards, but he got cooked in a pretty crucial moment, and that's when it hurt. And honestly, the Bears defense came up short when it came down to a crucial moment, which, overall they're playing against the Packers. The Packers are going to put up some points on you, and I think the Bears defense did a reasonable job, barring all the missed tackles. That's a huge fundamental issue. Yeah. But yeah, when it came down to crunch time, when it was 17-14 and the Bears desperately needed a stop, they couldn't get it, and right. It's tough. It's tough that it worked out that way. And like you said, Jalen Johnson, he got beat pretty bad there. I'm pretty sure it was kind of a little bit of double move, lost him on the sideline there, and really honestly fortunate that, Davante Adams didn't take it all the way to the house then.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, right, he only had 4 receptions, 90 yards, but I like to look at averages. It's like if you're averaging 22.2 yards a catch, you cooked your opponent. Like that's Johnson played okay, but really this was probably the first time this year we've really seen him just get roasted on a couple plays here. So when your cornerback 1 is up against arguably the best receiver in the entire NFL, you hope that guys like Eddie Jackson can step up and really, support and at least make the friggin' tackles he's supposed to. So that was a big disappointment. But really, I thought the strength of the Packers' attack came on the ground. I mean, they had Aaron Jones, absolutely. And we can't even forget about A.J. Dillon. I mean, he had 11 carries for basically 60 yards. Both of them were averaging over 5 yards per carry, which is not going to cut it. I mean, you can't let 2 different backs average over 5.4 and expect it to win. I mean, they're just going to beat you up. They're going to tire you out, and that's what they did. Aaron Rodgers was big in this game, despite the fact he only had 17 completions and under 200 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns, and he rushed for a touchdown. That was, he showed his oh, no, he didn't. No, my bad. Did he? No, he did rush for a touchdown. My bad. I'm getting confused.
That right there at the end with the iconic "I still own you."
That's right. Yeah, that was fun to hear. That felt good. That felt good.
Yeah, it was honestly. This is one that kind of stings because I think the Bears gave us a little bit of hope in this one, and that's when it really sucks with the Bears. Is sometimes the Bears can really just go out there. They give you a little bit of hope that hey, maybe they can actually pull this off. And it wasn't the typical way that the Bears lose to the Packers. I mean, you expect Aaron Rodgers to just dominate you. And like you said, Aaron Rodgers had a very efficient game. Only missed on, 5 or 6 passes in the game. Yeah. I mean, he was targeted. He was good. He didn't really make any mistakes. But it was all on the ground, and they were able to control the game that way. Honestly, the Packers controlled the game by, just keeping the ball on the ground and staying good on drives and punching it down the field, and they executed well. Once they got it into the red zone, it's tough. It's a tough way to take this loss, and I think overall there's some positives to take away with Justin Fields, but it's kind of odd that we're seeing such similar stat lines from him week in, week out. It seems like we're hovering above, a little bit above 50% completion rate. He usually throws a pick, which I'm not really I'm not going to drag on him too much for that. Obviously, this one probably shouldn't have counted. But also, I'm fine with a young quarterback, taking a shot and making a mistake. This is all a learning process for him. And, I think you will reiterate this as well, Zach. it's so much of the season is just about developing Justin Fields. It would have been icing on the cake to go out and beat the Packers, and it's gonna be tough to get him in the second game when we're playing at Lambeau. So this might have been the one where they could have gotten him or gotten the Packers, but. Overall, it's just we're seeing the same thing. A little bit of his play calling, like he's still not able to just go out there and let it rip. And we're not seeing him have 40 pass attempt games or anything like that. But it's just we're kind of like foaming at the mouth in a way to see him have this big game, because I think all Bears fans are just waiting for the game. He goes out there, throws 250, 3 touchdowns, maybe he throws a pick. But overall, I mean, there were some positive things. I was happy he was able to find Kmet on a couple of occasions. Like when the Bears really stick to the play action and they're able to give him protection, it's just so nice. I mean, they're usually able to find nice chunk plays with that. And them sticking and being honest to the run game and being a relatively balanced offense is helping with that. And there were a couple opportunities for Justin Fields to get some yards on the ground as well. But sometimes, maybe he's just trying to do a little bit too much. And, I don't know if it's underestimating the speed of some of these edge rushers and defensive ends in the league. But, he's getting caught in the backfield sometimes, especially when he's trying to push it from the outside. I've found that he has a lot more success when he's trying to run up the middle, finds a gap in the middle of the pocket, and is able to exploit the defense from there. But when he tries to bounce it outside, there's kind of like some alarm bells that are ringing in my head. I'm like, uh-oh, this isn't going to turn out good. And yeah, a lot of times it just didn't.
Yeah. The thing is, we said, or I said a long time ago, this year should just be a developmental one for Justin Fields. And you look at where he's at right now, and you nailed it. He's just hovering a little bit above 50% completion percentage. And, the thing is, his numbers just don't really pop at you. This isn't like a guy that on paper you're going, wow, this is, what a rookie season. Like, nah, honestly, it's been pretty bad statistically. I think in terms of the eye test, you keep watching him and go, this kid has just a massive, massive amount of potential. Just every play, you see how explosive and fast he is. And if he could just kind of, get the decision making down, and if we could build around him a little bit better, we know how special he can be. But like last week, when he jammed his knee, he makes these plays where he's extending plays, and he kind of doesn't know when to just throw the ball away, when to just, hey man, this play didn't work. There's nobody's getting open. I don't have time. I'm gonna do the safe thing. I'm gonna either check down or I'm gonna throw it away. I feel like Justin Fields is like allergic to check downs. Funny enough, Andy Dalton was addicted to them. That's basically all he did. And I'm glad we're seeing Justin Fields extending the field and really, or stretching the field and really showing that he's willing to throw it deep. But dude, sometimes just get the 5 yards. There was a play, I don't remember where it was, maybe second or third quarter, but he had somebody open over the middle that was like a guaranteed first down. And really, I mean, as the play was happening, I was screaming at the TV, which I usually don't do that badly.
Right.
Screaming, throw the ball, just throw it, man. He's right there, and he was holding on and he was dancing around in the pocket, and I could tell his eyes were downfield, and he was looking at, I think he was looking at Robinson or Mooney, and to his credit, I actually believe that play was a completion, and I kind of went, okay, but there's a moment there where, it's like, you're putting yourself in such unbelievable danger during these plays. And obviously, I think he was sacked 4 or 5 times this game. I mean, you can't get sacked 5.
Way too much still.
Way too much, man. You can't get sacked 5 times a game. It's just not a sustainable practice. You're young. Your limbs are, made out of jelly, and your cartilage is all there. But, dude, as you get older, man, that shit just doesn't work. So, he's making a lot of rookie plays. He's making a lot of rookie mistakes, and he's also making these big plays because of his explosiveness. But I'm looking like long term, and I'm just saying this isn't like a sustainable way to play football. You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get beaten up, and he already has been. Like every week, he's getting drilled. Last week, I thought that in the Raiders game that he was gonna come out and like be out. a couple times. Early on, he took that shot to the ribs. Later, he buckles his knee. It's just like, dude, you can't play like this. So in this game, he was running around so much, and there were so many plays where I was just saying, man, get rid of the ball, throw the ball. And sometimes he took a sack without needing to. I mean, like, it could have been just a busted play and just a throwaway. And sometimes he probably could have gotten some yards, a little check down, but I don't think he's looking for that. He's playing like he's young, which he is. He's 22, and he's trying to make those big plays. It's like all or nothing. With that said, I mean, he did find. I thought Cole Kmet finally showed up like in a big way this game. He's still spreading the ball around. Once again, got it to 6 different receivers, or I guess 5. Still spreading the ball out, getting Allen Robinson a little involved, but yeah, man, I wish I would see him play with a little bit more IQ and a little bit less athleticism.
Yeah, and I think you certainly kind of drill that, kind of the coined football term, which is live to fight for another down.
Yeah.
A lot of times, the sacks he's taking not only detrimental to his health, but in certain instances, especially towards the end of the game where it's 3rd and 15, he's trying to do so much, and he ends up making it a 4th and like 22 or 23. And it's like, well, now you've made it just about impossible on yourself, and that play ends up turning into a Hail Mary for some odd reason, which was weird. I thought that was odd with like 2 minutes left in the game on a 4th and 20, whatever. The Bears are just chucking up into the end zone. It's like, well, way to just really give it up,
Yeah.
Like but yeah, with Fields, I think that obviously he's handicapped a bit by the offensive line, but it's kind of a little bit of college practice, like you said. Some of it is a little bit of these just rookie things you expect from a rookie, and it's just like it's kind of like in that college game where you feel like the weight of the world's on your shoulder, and you feel like you have to do everything. When things are starting to go a little bit bad, when you're facing some adversity, you feel like you got to put it on yourself, and it's commendable that he's willing to put that weight on his shoulders, but hey, man, this is the NFL, and I know the Bears aren't necessarily the best team weapons-wise, but they've gotten a lot better. And, sometimes just let your weapons do the work for you. Like you said, kind of hitting at that check down. If you got someone like Khalil Herbert or Cole Kmet that's kind of sitting shallow and the play's developed and it's taking a long time and the coverage is backed off of him, just give it to him and let him get the chunk play. And if anything, maybe he breaks a tackle and then springs it into a bigger play. Sometimes you just got to let the weapons do the work for you. I mean, look at what Tom Brady does down there in Tampa Bay. I mean, he literally gets it to his weapons and lets them do the work for him. I mean, whether it be Gronk, who's currently injured, or someone like Antonio Brown, Mike Evans. Not all of these are, pass plays right into the end zone. I think for our podcast that didn't go up, one thing that you made a really good point of was, when's the last time the Bears threw a touchdown pass that wasn't right in the end zone? We got to give some of these receivers and backs a chance to get into the end zone themselves, or get some yards after a catch. And it's just things that can develop on further. And I think looking towards this Tampa Bay game, there's a lot of things that kind of make me worried, especially after what we saw after this game. But we knew that this stretch was going to be tough. And hey, they picked up a win against the Raiders team. I don't think all is kind of glum. And not to burn a video idea, but before we wrap this up, I kind of want to see, I don't know if you've seen the news on this, Zach, but there's kind of a little bit, kind of the first signs of this locker room coming apart a little bit. And I know this team is 3-3, but when you have someone like Eddie Jackson and he's going on Twitter to tweet back against kind of a legendary Bears player, it's just not a great look. And he really just got like shot down by everyone. I don't really think there was anyone that was really team Eddie Jackson there, especially with the way that he played. And it's just like, can we not do this? Like, it was bad enough that we lost this game to the Packers and that he played bad. And it's like, not only on top of you getting dragged, I hope he's getting dragged in the film room. Like, I hope the rest of the people on the defense are like, do you see what you're doing here, Eddie Jackson? Like, especially on that little shovel pass play where he got like stood up and pushed into the end zone. Like, man, like, I hope everyone's kind of pointing and laughing at him. And now you're going to go out on a tweet and call out someone that was pretty highly regarded by most Bears fans. Maybe didn't have the greatest exit, but a highly regarded Bears player is going to dig up a Pro Football Focus tweet from 2011. And then
Right.
everyone's just gonna be like, oh, so that's what you're doing with your time, not trying to get better. You're on Twitter. Eh.
Man, not to sound like that old head because I'm only 26, soon to be 27, but like, man, get off Twitter. Just get off Twitter.
Yeah,
All athletes, man. Like in every sport, it's amazing how many times they just shoot themselves in the foot trying to make like a good point, and everybody just stands there and goes, God, man, you just that's so just like get off Twitter. Just get off, bro. It's not, like, don't clap back at Lance Briggs. Like, dude is a legend, man. Look, you're not playing well. Don't drag down, some former legendary player to try and make yourself relatively feel better. Like, no, dude, you are playing like crap right now. You're not the only one. Other people are playing like crap. You could argue that Justin Fields is kind of playing like crap. A lot of people are playing like crap, except for maybe our running backs, and I guess
and, like the edge rushers
and the edge rushers,
like,
right? Exactly.
yeah.
Like edge rushing and running backs have been studs. Everyone else could improve. They could, just like, doesn't mean that they're all sucking, but Eddie Jackson in particular, it's like, hey man, the only reason that people are talking about you playing poorly is because you were like a Pro Bowler. And you're a guy who's also paid like a Pro Bowler. And if you're playing even just okay or below average, not good. You have high expectations, so you should take that as like a badge of honor. That people have these lofty goals for you. That we think that you are that talented and that much of a game changer, that you should be showing up night in and night out to actually like affect these games. And if you're not, there's something wrong. So I don't like it. I don't like when current players come after former players. I also don't really love it when former players come after current players unless
True.
it's super warranted. In this case, I don't think that it's necessarily that Eddie Jackson has been like sucking. It's that he's just not been helping. He has not been making the plays that we were used to seeing a couple years ago. And he has had a couple mistakes for sure. But I think he's also got a really big role right now. I think that because of how weak our secondary is, we're kind of like, hey man, you are the safety net. You are supposed to come in there and really, really make sure that we don't get burned over the top. And we have been. Like, every good team knows how to just burn us. And some of that, has been set up by the run. Obviously, I mentioned this week, the Packers, like we did the week before, had two running backs that were just cooking us. Just, one play after the next, they were just going back and forth with Jones and Dillon. They both, one had 13 carries, one had 11. It's hard to stop that when both running backs are being successful. And Aaron Rodgers himself, he took off with the ball 7 times. He wasn't quite as successful with the legs, but I mean, he got the rushing touchdown. It's hard to stop. Once the rush, the rush starts being successful, it's the passing game just opens wide up, and Aaron Rodgers loves the play action, and he was implementing it, successfully. So our defense just overall, they all need to step up, and I just don't like to see Eddie Jackson out there on Twitter. I don't like to see anyone on Twitter, honestly. I hate Twitter.
Yeah, he kind of unnecessarily dragged the spotlight onto himself,
Right.
and I'd say that the response is that he better ball out in this Tampa Bay game. You're gonna come out and make that statement, kind of make yourself look stupid. You better play one hell of a game, and I think that record kind of goes for a lot of these players, both defensively and offensively on the Bears. That now is kind of the time where it's time to kind of put up or shut up. Start balling out and start really showing what you're worth. And we'll see. I think the game prep for the Bears for this Tampa Bay game is going to be very interesting. And yeah, we're certainly going to dig into it pretty deep. There's a lot to cover with this Packers game. Of course, that's a huge game, and also heading into this next week against Tampa Bay, and then the following week against the 49ers. The Bears are still very much in this gauntlet of games, really kind of smack dab in the middle of it. And it's really, this is going to tell us a lot about this Bears team. And hopefully, even if they end up on the losing side of it, hopefully there's definitely some development and growth to be had there. I think that's the main thing that Zach and I want, and I'm sure that's what most Bears fans are wanting. I think that even if Justin Fields had a huge game and they lost to the Packers this week, it would be a little bit easier to swallow. But we can always hope he's still making steady improvements, but there's still the little things there that are concerning. And as always, a lot to cover with this Bears team. Any parting thoughts before we just forget about this game and hopefully only touch about it a little bit on the next podcast?
Yeah, I'd say the Bucs is going to be. We talked a little bit about the Packers and the Bucs back to back being arguably the two hardest games in the entire season, and they're back to back. Not only is this going to be a real test for how we come back after getting thumped like that, but this is our first chance to break above 500. We're finally sitting here again, 500 again. This not only could be a win, over a team that's 5-1 currently, a big win team, but to finally get on the right side of the winning column. I think both of us basically projected a 500 or a slightly sub 500 season. I'd like to see them carry on most of the season with a winning record. If they could beat the Bucs, I mean, arguably they got a couple weeks here coming up where maybe we could maintain that winning record. As soon as you end up on the the other side of a losing record, it's tough. I think mentally you start to look at the season and go, well, we can't really lose much more. We're approaching the bye week pretty soon, and you just can't keep taking losses. Like when you get to 4, 5, 6 losses, it's over, man. Like you start to just look and go, nah, man, we literally have to win every single game, and then through the postseason, there is no more room for losing. And not that you ever have that we want to lose, but I think when that record starts to turn negative, or sub 500, there's a mentality shift, and not that that's necessarily the worst thing in terms of management. If we were to lose the next 3 in a row, I think Ryan Pace really ought to start looking at trades and shedding some big contracts, even looking to trade guys like Akeem Hicks, barring any sort of future injury. But it's going to be a defining couple of weeks. This Bucs game is going to be pretty important. I think it's an expected loss, but then you got the Niners and Steelers coming up right after that. This middle stretch of the season is arguably going to be the most important in terms of just defining where the rest of the year goes. So big week, definitely going to be watching, definitely going to be super tuned in all week to see how players are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a big week leading up to this matchup, and there's just a lot of players to account for on Tampa Bay. And like you said, it's a chance for them to break over 500 again. Held 3-2 for a little bit, and now we're kind of right back to familiar territory for the Bears. But we'll break a lot of this down for y'all in this week's podcast. So look for that to come out probably on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. And probably a lot more videos on the YouTube as well. So as always, guys, I appreciate y'all listening, and hopefully this talking about the game didn't bring you down too much. And as always, bear down.
Bear down.